Ready to get going. So if I could ask you all to take your seats here. We're really excited about what we have here tonight. The second time that the World Tour has visited and been a part of the Amgen Tour of California. So a lot of special people to recognize here tonight, as well as we're going to tell you the story of how we got here. 250 miles of racing over 4 stages starting tomorrow at 10:40. My name is Dave Toll. I'm lucky enough to work with an incredible colleague, Brad Soner. And we are really looking forward to what's going to be happening here. So we're going to give everyone a chance to sit down, find your seat, and thank you all for participating with our silent auction here as well. Nice to see 3-time Olympic gold medalist Kristen Armstrong in the room with us. We're going to have a chance to talk with her a little bit later. She's had a big impact on women's racing, and right now, there really is no better time to get behind what's happening here. We have another athlete that we'll talk to tonight, Corinne Rivera, who just won the Women's Tour of Flanders. The only American who's ever done that. Brad, we're going to have an incredible group of athletes to talk to. Not just the best Americans, but the best riders from around the world coming here. It's going to be an incredibly competitive 4 days of racing. You look at the stages. I mean, tomorrow's stage 1 is going to go down possibly as the best day of racing anywhere on planet Earth that will happen during this 2017 season. And it's the Women's World's Tour that's going to be out there at the Amgen Tour of California, presented by our great friends at Amgen and their Breakaway from Heart Disease initiative. And we'll also have Brad talk to Ali Tetrick. She's a great person that touches on really all of the different bases. Ali is a racer on the Silence team. She works at Amgen part-time, and she's also raced every edition of the Amgen Tour. We're into our 12th overall edition this year. You go back to 2006. There have been different women's tours of California along the way. But then last year, Kristen Klein, who's an amazing human being, really had the vision to look to the World Tour and take this event to the very highest level. And that's what we have here, bike racing at the highest level around the world. And so AEG and their vision, Amgen with their belief in their initiatives like Breakaway from Heart Disease, end up putting together with the state of California the best of the best. So, Brad, something to really look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to meet some great people tonight. We're going to talk to some of our past champions, some of our future champions, and meet the folks that help make the race happen. Before we do that, we want to show a short video to get everyone excited about the race coming up here in the next few days, and then we'll meet some folks.
We are riders.
Determination is in our heart.
Competition in our blood.
And when challenge calls,
We come alive.
The road we travel is unforgiving.
Merciless.
demanding all we have.
Then asking for more. But as we attack each climb,
As we launch every sprint,
our strength, our will,
Affirm what we already know.
we will endure.
champions have come before us
Riders who gave everything.
to their race,
To their sport,
and we honor them by taking the course
Fulfilling their legacy.
while creating our own.
here, we write a new page of history.
A new chapter of a race that will continue to lead,
To build on its tradition.
to be worthy of all who came before.
And all who are yet to come.
A race that will continue to crown champions.
Such a fantastic media team with this event. So now I would like to bring up the woman I was just speaking of, the president of the Amgen Tour of California. She's been with this event since the very first stage when we started in the Presidio in San Francisco, and has certainly been a steady hand at the helm. Let's bring up now Kristen Klein.
Thanks, Dave. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be back in South Lake Tahoe and really wonderful to be among so many old friends. I just want to thank our LOC and Carol Champlin and her entire committee for hosting us tonight, so thank you very much. You continue to make us all feel so welcome and always host memorable stages for everyone, both on and off the bike. I hate to say it, Carol, but as of right now, the weather report looks pretty good, and I shouldn't have said that. AEG has continued to be committed to women's cycling. It's long been our mission to continue to grow the women's platform. We are proud to say that this year marks our 10th women's race and year 2 for the Amgen Breakaway from Heart Disease women's race, Empowered with SRAM, to be positioned at the pinnacle of cycling as part of the UCI Women's World Tour. It's exciting and so well deserved for these absolutely incredible and dedicated athletes to see this kind of growth. Thank you to USA Cycling and UCI for not only continue to support us throughout the years when we started our first women's race in 2008, but they have really helped us to create the world's most prominent women's stage race. So thanks again to USA Cycling and the UCI, the International Governing Body of Cycling. Over the next 4 days, we will experience some of the best and most beautiful cycling on the planet. Our dedicated host cities, South Lake Tahoe, Elk Grove, and Sacramento, have continued to work tirelessly with us to tee up some of the most scenic and challenging race course moments yet. As we speak, some of the most distinguished cyclists in the world are lining up backstage. We are lucky to get to welcome the best of the best right here in California, from Olympic medalists, world and national champions, and maybe best of all, athletes who live and train within the state of California. That includes 3-time national champion and a reigning race champion, Megan Guarnay, Katie Hall, who continues to reach new heights in this race, and Southern California native Corinne Rivera, who is shining on the World Tour this year. I would like to thank the fans and the teams and the riders for their incredible support throughout the years, and sincere thanks to our partners, including SRAM, one of the women's race founding partners in 2008, and our title sponsor, Amgen, who has been helping us grow not only the women's race, but the men's race since year 1 in 2006. We're proud to witness the impact that Amgen is making through utilizing these platforms to share their message of hope and innovation with those not only affected by cancer, but also by cardiovascular disease. We look forward to seeing everyone out on the race course this week. Thank you so much.
This event has incredible partners. When you look at Amgen, it is 12 years that we started with the Breakaway from Cancer initiative. And the impact it's had in the over 45 cities that we've visited through the almost 90 stages of this event has been really incalculable. So I want to show you a video now as we now are talking about Breakaway from Heart Disease and the impact this event is going to have in that arena. So all of our friends at Amgen have been amazing, and let's take a look at the work that they do.
Every person and every patient has a story. And within every story, there are high points and low ones. There are setbacks and there are victories. At Amgen, these stories matter. we remain steadfastly focused on a single mission: developing innovative medicines to help patients with serious illness. Today, patients suffering from cancer, some neurological diseases, and cardiovascular disease can look to the future with greater hope than ever before. And for over 35 years, we've delivered pioneering science and vital biotechnology medicines to provide just that: hope. Amgen is proud to be a leader in the race to dramatically improve patients' lives. Our Breakaway from Cancer initiative continues to raise awareness and funds to support valuable services and programs to help people living with cancer. And through Amgen's Breakaway from Heart Disease initiative, we're partnering with the American Heart Association to empower everyone to take action for good heart health. The Amgen Tour of California, Breakaway from Cancer, and Breakaway from Heart Disease. We believe in innovation. We believe in hope. Together, we can write a better story.
There is no doubt that the work that Amgen has done over the last 12 years with AEG, who do such a terrific job, and the Amgen Tour of California, it's no longer a sponsorship. It's definitely a partnership and a friendship across the board. And I'd now like to bring up one of those friends from Amgen. This is Suzanne Blaug. Come on up, Suzanne.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here to help kick off the Amgen Breakaway from Heart Disease Women's Race. For the second year in a row, I was here last year, and I second what Kristen said to the organizing committee for bringing the good weather. I don't know, for those of you who were here last year, if you remember the gale force winds at this stage last year, we had to dismantle all of the booths, as I recall, and I was just about knocked off the stage. But I would like to start by thanking the organizing committee and all of the volunteers for all the work you do to make this such an amazing event. It was absolutely, even with all the issues with the weather last year, it was such a seamless event, so thank you very much. Amgen is a 36-year-old biotechnology company, and our entire organization is focused on our mission, which is serving patients. And we do that by bringing new therapeutics to the market, therapeutics that treat patients who have pretty serious illnesses: cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, migraine, rheumatoid arthritis. We have scientists who are committed and dedicated to fighting for patients. So, as you've already heard, 12 years ago, Amgen joined forces with AEG to become the title sponsor of the Tour of California. And we did this because we wanted to raise awareness of a key initiative at the time, which continues to be a key initiative, and that's Breakaway from Cancer. And that initiative was aimed at, and is still aimed at, helping people who are affected by cancer, helping them access the resources that they need. That initiative was joined last year, as you've already heard, by Breakaway from Heart Disease. And that initiative is aimed at encouraging Americans to really develop healthy heart. And that's through better nutrition, it's through exercise, and in fact, cycling is, it turns out, an excellent exercise for protection against heart disease. So I'd like to just close by once again thanking AEG and the organizing committees and the organizing teams for your partnership over the years and for your dedication in making this a real world-class event. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the cyclists for their dedication and for their inspiration. The way that they persevere through mental and physical challenges for someone like me who is an avid amateur cyclist, although actually in this room, I should probably say I'm more of an avid leisure cyclist. But I find it truly inspiring, and I think that the cyclists, with their perseverance, also inspire people around the world who face challenges such as the patients that we serve at Amgen. Thank you.
If you've been involved in cycling here in the United States over the last couple of decades, the most impressive athlete of all to me is Kristen Armstrong. 3 Olympic gold medals, had a child in between 2 of those medals. No one else in the history of mankind or planet Earth has done that. And before I bring up our next guest, said Kristen Armstrong, who I don't know, I'll have to ask my colleague Brad. I've never heard her call Brad or I awesome, but she just told me the woman I'm introducing now is awesome. And I thought, wow, that must really mean something. And then I heard that Ryan Ung, who works with us here at the Amgen Tour of California, also said that he will never swim with her again. It was something that he didn't enjoy. So that is about as good as it gets, I think, for an introduction. To have Kristen Armstrong say you're awesome says it all, but she's also the president and CEO of Lake Tahoe Visitors Authority. So let's bring up now Carol Chaplin. She's awesome.
Okay, there's some things that are just priceless. That was it. Well, I'm going to turn over this microphone very quickly. Thank you for that. Anyway, Ryan, we love you anyway, even if we have to, pull you out of the water. Thank you for coming back. We just love this event, as you know. And as you've heard, thank you to all the sponsors and all the people that work behind the scenes on this. For us at the Lake Tahoe Visitors Authority, we start last year along with AEG and all of their sponsors and partners, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people that help make this event happen. And to be part of that is so exciting and so wonderful. It's just so much fun, and I hope you get out there and really cheer these women on, because we're all part of kind of a historical period of really raising the awareness of women's cycling at this level. And of course it's done at this level, which is Lake Tahoe, which is so inspirational to have that on television and seen around the world. And this year we have a second stage after our lake route that will go down into our the Carson Valley, which is truly also inspirational. We have partners down there as well, and we want to thank them. But this could be one of the hardest routes that has ever been in the tour, from what I understand. So it's going to be something to watch, and you won't want to miss this. Also inspirational is my good partner, Andy Chapman, from Incline Village, Crystal Bay Visitors and Convention Bureau, and I'd like you to also say that 5 times fast as I welcome to the stage North Lake Tahoe Resort Association and the CEO and the president of Incline Village, Crystal Bay, have been our partners for years, and we want to thank them for all their support and their involvement in this event as well. So please welcome Andy Chapman, inspirational. Maybe not as awesome, but inspirational.
Carol's awesome. I guess I'm inspirational, but Carol is awesome. So thank you very much. And again, I'm very honored to be here again this year. We've been kind of hooked at the hip since 2011 in our infamous May race that never happened. And I'm quite proud that the women made it around this lake before the men's race did, which I think is a very good thing. And I continue to salute those women for that. But thank you very much. Again, we're very honored to be part of this effort to bring this cycling event, this prestigious event, to our area. I would like to recognize J.T. Thompson from the North Lake Tahoe Resort Association, who was our partner on the North Shore in marketing our region. Again, we're looking forward to having the lady athletes, women athletes coming around our part of the lake. So again, thank you everyone who's involved in this, from the athletes to the safety patrols and all that have been involved. And certainly we are happy to welcome back Kristen Klein and her team, because they put on a spectacular event. So get out there, get your cowbells, ring the bell, because it's going to be a great couple of days of racing. So thank you very much.
Andy, the invite is open to go for a bike ride with Kristen Armstrong, if you'd like to prove your mettle here. So, hey, this is a sport entirely built on passion. I know a lot of you here that ride. If you didn't love it, you wouldn't do it. And bike racing is really the pinnacle of that passion. And I was lucky enough in 1999 in San Francisco. Cyclocross, which is a kind of a fringe sport. Some of the riders that you'll meet do it. But certainly, I went to a cyclocross race, and the guy that was announcing really inspired me. So much so that I went home and wasted $2,000 on my own PA system, which is still sitting there, actually. But I did really learn something. I saw a guy doing his craft and had a lot of respect, and that guy has gone on to do a lot of things in cycling. And now he's here as the global brand director for SRAM. We wouldn't have an Amgen Tour of California women's race without SRAM. So why don't you meet an inspirational guy? This is Chris Zigmont from SRAM. Come on up, Chris.
I'll give you 500 for the PA system. So thanks, everybody. I am lucky enough to be standing up here and speaking to you tonight as the presenting sponsor of the Amgen Breakaway from Heart Disease women's race, Empowered with SRAM. We are deeply, deeply gratified for the opportunity to take a leading role in promoting women's cycling. At SRAM, we believe in the power of bicycles and expanding the potential of cycling. We continue to take action as a company to reverse gender inequality by investing in women's cycling as a way to help level the playing field in cycling and beyond. We believe the peloton should reflect the makeup of society. We're hard at work within our walls to improve these inequities, and we feel it's important to do the same on the parkour as well. The Women's World Tour offers fantastic racing and is compelling to watch. The women athletes that we work with are engaging and inspiring human beings that we are incredibly proud to be partnered with. I'm very pleased to announce that SRAM will be the presenting partner for the Amgen Women's Race for the next 3 years. Women's racing is a pillar of our marketing effort, and this race is the crown jewel. If you'll allow me for just a moment, I'd like to mention men's racing for just a moment, if you will. I'd be negligent if I didn't take a moment to recognize the deep loss felt by our community scarcely 2 weeks ago with the passing of our friend Chad Young, who succumbed to injuries received in a horrific high-speed crash at the Tour of the Gila. Chad was a member of the SRAM family with the Action Higgins-Berman team, which has competed in the Amgen men's race many times. His loss, of course, has rocked our community and our cycling family. I hope you take a moment to remember Chad and his deep dedication, his wit, and his warmth, and keep his grieving family and friends in your heart. But now, I hope you'll join me in wishing our women's peloton bon chance and a safe and wildly competitive week. Thanks.
The time is now for women's racing, no question. And there's an incredible group that is working right now to bring more eyeballs to the sport. And that is such a big part of what we're doing. Not only are we showcasing Lake Tahoe and Heavenly and all of the state of California, but really, I think most importantly to a lot of us in the sport of cycling, I know a lot of our photographers like Casey Gibson and Will Matthews here, they really care about women's racing. And Vox, Google that if you don't know what I'm talking about when you get home. But Vox women are doing the best job out there right now in helping people really identify who the athletes are, why they matter, what the important events are, and why women's cycling makes a difference. So if you'd enjoy a video from our friends at Box.
I absolutely loved this race last year. I think the best thing is that it just involves a lot of everything. So there's short climbs, a really long climb now in stage 2, and then a flat stage and finishing with the criterium. So I think there's something for everyone and I'm really excited to race.
I always love to come to California. I love the place, I love the sun, I love the people, and I'm waiting for the crowd that I remember from last year. And I know it's gonna be really special, and I hope to be in a good condition to take the most of it.
I'm really excited to be here in California, and it's like I'm riding in a movie set, so I think it's going to be a great race.
It's time to get the champagne on ice 2016. You are going to be winner here at
It's a World Tour race, so it's one of the bigger races of the year. So that makes it really nice and important to be here.
It's totally awesome. No, it's good to be back here. You know, it's such a fantastic race. From the get-go, they've supported the women's race, you know, with a huge amount of support and done it properly. And, you know, for us, it's an important race with a lot of US-based sponsors, and we're here to win. And, you know, let's see what we can do together as a team.
It means a lot, and I love coming back to America and racing. The fans always get behind us, and the race organisers always put a really great race on for us. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting stuck in.
I'm excited to be here, and it's great to be defending champion with my whole team here. And my husband will be here, some of my friends will be here, my training partners will be here to watch, so they'll get to see what I get to do on a daily basis.
Wow. Well, if that doesn't get you excited for the race coming up this week, I don't know what will. Without any further ado, you guys ready to meet some riders? All right. So we're going to bring teams out in groups because we do have so many riders and so many teams. We're going to do groups of 4 or 5. We'll stop to talk to a few of them along the way, but we really just want to get everyone up here and let you meet some of the great champions that we have racing here at the Amgen Breakaway from Heart Disease Women's Race, empowered with SRAM. So let's start with our first 2 teams. Welcome to the stage, Team Illuminate and Team Colavita Bianchi.
There's a Reno resident, there's some Reno roots coming up here as Amber Pierce on this team. Amber swam at UNR before making her way in, Stanford, I'm sorry, which is a fully accredited university in California. Yes, hey, welcome. This is one of the most unique teams as well. Illuminate doing a great job, Brad.
All right, let's meet the riders, starting with Team Illuminate in the black jerseys. Malie Saleh Blaise from Canada, Georgia Katrick, Michaela Harvey, Yusili Soto, Lexi Millard, Katarina Nash, and Amity Gregg. And for Team Colavita Bianchi, Abigail Mickey, Whitney Allison, Jillian Elsay, Astrid Grassner, Jessica Mundy, Amber Pierce, Emma Grant, and Kendall Hodges. All right, so we'll go ahead and put them on the Rogers as we welcome our next 2 teams in this group, starting with the Hagens-Berman Supermint team. Come on up. And another American squad, the Visit Dallas DNA Pro Cycling team. So we'll start with the Hagens-Berman Superman team as we welcome Scotty Lechuga, Megan Alderet, Lindsay Bayer, Jess Sarah, Peta Mullins, Lizzie Williams, Beth Ann Orton, and Liza Richetto. And for the Visit Dallas DNA Pro Cycling team, Michaela Drummond, Mandy Heinz, Jennifer Lubke, Hannah Moogie, Brianna Nalder, Claire Rose, and Anna Sanders.
Hey, I do want to mention that there is a winter and a summer Olympian on stage right now as well. Katarina Nash, who's lived in Truckee, California, with the Illuminate team, was at the Salt Lake City Games, cross-country skiing, has been on the podium at the World Cup, the World Cyclocross Championship. There's also some riders like Claire Rose coming from England who just won an incredible stage down at Redlands there. A solo breakaway to win the criterium. Claire, who is a doctor in this in the sport of cycling and in life. So Claire, she's just been racing in the United States for a couple months now. That's a huge result. And also watch out for Abby Mickey up there from the Colavita team. She's one of the top climbers that's coming out of Colorado in our field, and a lot of people pointing at her as a rider who's going to put together a great result. And this entire team, Hagen Superman, has been really tearing it up. So watch out for this squad, including a Redlands stage winner, Scotty Lechuga, there as well. And Jess Sarah, who's one of the great stories in the sport. And this young lady just had a heart operation 1 month ago, Lindsay Bayer of the Hagens-Berman team, and is here racing with us, Brad, at the Amgen Tour of California. It's an incredible group right there, and these are going to be some of the teams that you really want to keep your eye on. Good luck, ladies.
All right, so with that, we'll move on to our next wave of teams. As we'll begin with the ladies in orange, please welcome Rally Cycling. Being joined by the United Healthcare Professional Cycling Team.
Boy, this is the team of super sprinter Erica Allar, who's going to be a big part of the conversation when we get to Sacramento as we lock horns. And how about this two-time silver medalist at the World Championships in Richmond and stage winner at Gila? It's Emma White walking by. Welcome, Emma. Welcome to the rally team. And here we go. Kelly Caitlin, one of the greatest stories in American cycling. She is a world team pursuit champion out of Minnesota. That's the rally team.
All right, our next two teams will welcome Team Tibco, Silicon Valley Bank, and Silence Pro Cycling.
Hey, this is one of the ladies tipped as a favorite out of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. It's going to be a big week for Lex, that's for sure, as we welcome the Tibco team. This is a team that has Lauren Stevens, a multi-time U.S. Worlds member. She's won some of the biggest races on the planet. Definitely Tibco, Brad, always a danger squad. United Healthcare has been, without a doubt, the most dominant team in American cycling history here in 2017 with Ruth Winder on. It is a mind-blowing run that Ruth Winder, who is part of our Rio movement that won the silver medal in the team pursuit, New Zealand champion Rushley Buchanan there. And how about Tour of the Gila winner, Taylor Wiles, also up there, along with the woman who's won a stage, worn the yellow jersey at the Amgen Tour of California, Katie Hall. That is a monster team when you look at United Healthcare right now.
Absolutely. One more team to join this wave. We'll finally welcome the Show Air 2020 team to join this group.
Really looking forward to our Q&A. That's Kirsten Wild there, who won the final stage in Sacramento for the Silence team, and a woman who always has an open invite here at the Amgen Tour of California, presented by Heart Disease, Allie Tetrick. Allie, great to see you. Allie, as I said, she's a Northern California person. She works with Amgen, and she's raced every edition, right? Every edition? Is that right, Allie? Yep. So no one is more all in on the Amgen Tour than Allie Tetrick. This is going to be an absolute barn burner edition of the Amgen Tour, Brad.
Actually, let's grab a word with Allie. We're going to ask a few riders to stay behind for a quick Q&A. We'll have Allison Tetrick, Lex Albrecht, Emma White, Taylor Wiles, and Leah Thomas. If you could stick behind, and we'll grab a word with you.
Oh, great. You guys already have mics as well. So, Leah, already a great time trial that I saw you ride. We do an event that I would say, I'll ask your opinion, but in New Mexico, that's one of the most important preparation races for the Amgen Tour of California. You don't just show up with no miles in your legs if you're going to do this race, and you had a nice ride at the time trial there.
I did. It was really a breakout time trial for me, and it was just great. We have a really great equipment sponsor. We have great time trial bikes, and I knew I had the best equipment going into the race, and I was just glad that I was able to pull off a great time trial.
Good. You know what? Lauren, you can stay with. Let's have Lauren Steve. Okay. She'll be back. I feel terrible. So it's funny, isn't it? I mean, when you look at someone like Lauren Stevens, this is Taylor Wiles now. She is one of the biggest danger women in the sport today. Well, your opinion, I guess, on
Thanks,
what...
Dave.
Well, Taylor just got done winning two really important things. She won a silver medal at the Pan Am Games last week, and that is in the time trial. And right before she left to go win in, it was Dominican Republic, she won the Tour of the Gila, which is probably the hardest race outside of the Amgen Tour of California to win. So you're on a roll, kid.
Thank you.
So Taylor, you now live in Marin County, but from Utah, but gotta be a lot of pride when you're here racing and showing all of the European women what America's all about, to be able to show them this part of California.
Oh yeah, I love this race for so many reasons, because it is now my home turf, and it's beautiful, and it's so well organized, and you know, they support the women really well, and it's pretty cool to have all the big teams come over and kind of see that America can put on a stage race too.
How big of a deal is the altitude going to be for the European ladies that haven't experienced it? I mean, do they ever get to race, Taylor? All of these women have spent time racing in Europe. But do they ever get above 8,000 feet?
Oh no. It's usually sea level, so it's usually a pretty big hit to the Euros. So it's a little bit of advantage for us.
Yeah, and that kid who grew up in Salt Lake City, let's get it on, right?
Oh yeah.
Good. And another thing I love about this sport is these might be the top pro athletes, and they really are in the game today, but also they're so in touch with their community. We'll talk to Allie about that, but one of the best things about Taylor is you don't go to a bike race in America without meeting her mom or dad and the whole extender here.
They're out there.
Yes. Nice.
My mom's birthday is tomorrow, so everybody wish her happy birthday.
Oh man, all right, Lex, knowing that, so these two ladies were in a breakaway that succeeded. For both of them, actually. It's the Fort Baird stage there. That's where the Buffalo Soldiers were based back 150 years ago. And this young lady, Lex Albrecht, came out on top, winning a sprint of a group of 3 women that came to the line. Ended up winning the stage. Taylor moved into the jersey, but one thing everybody said was watch out for Lex for the Amgen Tour of California. And they were right, weren't they, Lex?
Well, I can be a sneaky one, so I'm not going to tell you if they're right or not, because I want to keep my cards hidden for now, but maybe. Well, okay, we'll let you in on a little secret. Watch out.
So the next 2 days, it's basically, let's just round it out, 75 miles of climbing a day for the next 2 days. We don't get this block of racing. Some racers never had this in their lifetime at this level with this quality field. 2 of the most important days of racing, I would think, on your calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the result from Gila at altitude gave me a little bit of confidence coming into Amgen Tour California here up in Tahoe, because the altitude does make me nervous too. And knowing that, you know, Tibco SVB Bank, we can still get some excellent results up there or up here where there's not a lot of oxygen. That gives us a bit of confidence, and knowing that we might have an upper hand on the Euros, like Taylor was saying too.
What's the altitude in Montreal?
Like 2 feet maybe.
Well, but you've been doing camps in Big Bear and definitely doing some altitude training.
Yeah, I spent a little bit of time in Big Bear too after Gila, and I like altitude. I try to make things like that my friend.
Right on. Hey, so Emma White. Emma, are you 18 or 19 years old now?
19.
19. Emma is a full-time student at Union College in New York, and you're an IT person, computer stuff?
Computer science.
Yeah, so, and taking full course load, and still has time to fly out to New Mexico, just kind of in between, like, you know, 4-day block, and win the hardest criterium to win in the United States, which was in downtown Silver City, and did it with panache and some razzmatazz. So, and I think going back, if you've been following the sport, she's a 2-time silver medalist at the World Championships. That was in Richmond going back just a couple years ago. Never gets old, does it, Emma?
Nope.
Yes. So how much are you looking forward to going up against the biggest names in the sport?
I am so excited. I am fortunate enough to this is my second year, so and we've got a really good team here, so I'm really excited about it. You know, never, like you said, it never gets old. So.
And I mean, it's interesting. It's bizarre in cycling how it used to be women would hit their peak at 28 years old, and that would go to 34 or something like that. Nowadays, there is no way to really. You can't judge fitness by looking at a house with no windows. You can't see inside. You can't look at an 18-year-old and know whether they have the heart to win at the World Tour level or not. And that really is a game changer, isn't it? That, I mean, younger riders are getting bigger opportunities now.
Yeah, and with USA Cycling, you see it like Skylar Schneider, and they're taking juniors over to Europe, and that is so cool. That's something that will really help American cycling and the juniors growing up, and that's just great.
I mean, is it fair to say, and Derek Richard Hall, who's with us here, I mean, they have put so much resource into women's cycling. Taylor, I'm sure you've been over to the house in Holland, and, you know, Leah as well. You know, these opportunities are there for you ladies to, you know, make that Olympic standard. And it's pretty cool that we're at this point now where there's Corinne Rivera's out there, but Corinne has now moved into her pro career, but there's so many Megan Jastrabs, that kind of thing out there. We have so much talent, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we're definitely using it up. Like we're definitely we're giving everything we have to get the results. So it's really cool to see.
Emma's team has really made a huge commitment, as all of these teams have, to supporting professional women's cycling. And I think it's really important that we recognize the ShoAir 2020s, the United Healthcares, the Tibcos, and the rallies, and of course the Silences. No one does more for this event than Ali Tetrick, who just came back from the Pan Am Games as well. Welcome home.
Thank you. It's good to be home.
Yeah, so you must be particularly proud in this sport when you can bring people to your home state. You're a kid from Redding, California, correct? But you bring them to California, you show them the quality of the organization, people like Kristen Klein, who work so hard to make this a great event. Is it the best week of your year?
It's the busiest 2 weeks of my year, and it's the best 2 weeks. It's really great to showcase women's cycling on such a broad stage, and also raise awareness about really important resources available to communities nationwide. And Amgen has had a huge commitment to this race and a huge commitment to local communities through 2 disease awareness platforms, Breakaway from Heart Disease and Breakaway from Cancer. So this whole week is super impactful and also very impactful for women's cycling.
Ali's first ever pro bike win goes back to a race called Tour de Nez, which a really cool guy named Tim Hillian ran over out of Reno. But there was a stage up in North Star. At one point, you won that stage, but then got disqualified because you cheated with your pedal somehow. Right? Oh, yeah. Yes, we don't. It was one of those.
Details.
Yeah, it's one of those things. The sport is a little more complicated than just riding around in circles. And Ali, due to no fault of her own, but her pedal fell off, and someone helped her with a different bike, and it turned out to be illegal. But at the end of the day, we learned your name. And there was no Amgen Tour of California at that point. You know, when you look at someone like Emma White next to you, how much cooler is it to be Emma White right now than it would have been to be Emma White in 2008?
You know,
Outside of the great SpongeBob stuff.
It's been an incredible progress to watch women's cycling, and just coming back from the Pan American Championships with some amazing young athletes where I was dropping lyrics and everyone but Taylor had a blank face, and I was like, oh, because you guys weren't born yet. So future for American cycling is huge, and so we really thank you guys for supporting us and having us at this race, and also for Amgen's commitment to this, and it's just been an incredible time, so thank you.
Awesome. You know, did we lose your mic? Yeah.
She gave
Got
it to me.
hijacked. You know what? That's Taylor. Ask her parents. Like, yeah.
I was sharing. She shared.
Taylor's great at sharing. Hey, so you're a Northern California person as well, San Francisco?
I am. Yeah, I was born and raised in Cupertino.
Right, so in your path, I mean, that's one of the things I think is really interesting about professional women's racing is that it's not so clear-cut. Men's racing isn't as clear-cut these days either, as far as, you know, more riders are doing collegiate cycling, and collegiate cycling is awesome. I think that Emma would back me up on that. But you came to it more post-college, correct?
Yeah, I actually didn't really start riding a bike until college, my senior year. And then really didn't pick it up until I was a full-time teacher out on the Navajo reservation. And I kind of used cycling as a way to clear my mind. And first year teaching is hard, so cycling became kind of my escape.
And does it still, I mean, when you get to the level of racing at the Amgen Tour, can you still use it that way, or does it become, I mean, the amount of work that you ladies do to be ready and prepared to race at this level, it's really impressive.
I mean, I really think that I feel I race best when I look at it as a privilege, you know? Like, we're lucky that we get to be here, and we're lucky our bodies are able to perform the way that they are. And so I just think it's special.
Yeah, well, what you're doing is special. I mean, is this something that you must have a plan post-cycling as well? I mean, do you look at it as I have this amazing little window where my body and my mind have come together, and there's races like the Amgen Tour, let's go for it?
Definitely, you know, like I know I'm not going to be racing my bike forever, and I do want to go back to teaching, and so I really want to take advantage of the years that I'm riding my bike.
Well, good. Well, good luck out there for sure. Taylor, winning Gila was awesome, but it certainly didn't change anyone's view of you. You've always been Ms. Sunshine out there in the professional cycling world, but you really have. Did you notice a difference in how you felt about yourself after winning a huge stage race like Gila?
Yeah, you know, Gila was really important for me because I've had a couple years where I hadn't had, you know, some really big results, and so it's always kind of as an athlete, your confidence ebbs and flows, and to start, you know, feeling good again and having confidence again is really huge, and to be supported by such an incredible team and to have gotten that opportunity was pretty special.
I agree. I want to thank you all now. Lex is Canadian, so she's going to not be participating in this next question. But is Kristen Armstrong the greatest American cyclist of all time? What do you guys think?
Yes.
I'm with
I think
you.
so, yeah.
So we got at least two. You worked with her.
Yes.
And you actually, I mean, she's had an impact in every single one of your lives, whether being a teammate, a coach, a director. Oh, you don't have a microphone. No, it's just been, it's awesome, I think, having someone like Kristen staying involved in the sport, because she does give us this great credibility. So certainly appreciate you ladies. We're going to give you a break and let you get ready for tomorrow's stage one of the Amgen Tour of California, presented by Amgen's Breakaway from heart disease. So again, Leah Thomas, Taylor Wiles, Lex Albrecht, Emma White, and Ali Tetrick. Thank you, ladies.
The obligatory selfie first. All right, well, you want to talk about great American cyclists? Our next team to come up is representing the United States. We will have our U.S. national team racing here at the Amgen Breakaway from Heart Disease Women's Race, empowered with SRAM. So let's welcome the U.S. national team with two pairs of sisters racing: Skylar Schneider, Samantha Schneider, Allison Arnsman, Hannah Arnsman, Laurel Rathman, and Stephanie Sidlick.
Another rider fresh back from the Dominican Republic with some hardware. Welcome home, Skylar. That's Skylar Schneider, who is also in the road race claiming a bronze medal. Congratulations, Skylar. You know, no, you're good. Well,
No, talk to her now.
you know, we'll talk to Skylar right now, actually, because did someone take the mic from her? Hey, congratulations. I mean, so this is now, we were talking about the World Championships and how important that is. Pan Am Games are right there in line with that. Congratulations, Skylar Schneider.
Thank you very much. It was such an honor to race with such amazing women, and we don't get to be teammates often. And to have that opportunity, I really learned a lot and was happy to win a medal for our country.
Yeah, and to be honest, now we're not talking a junior medal. Skylar is just in her first season as a senior athlete. Skylar is 18 years old, and she's already making these marks in the sport. So it's worth recognizing that we're trending in the right direction as well. And it's a well-known story in the sport, but Samantha Schneider, who has been a multiple-time American champion as well in the discipline of criterium racing. So certainly, we got a lot to look forward to this year. And then, of course, out of Colorado, Laurel Rathbun is here. Laurel has been a 10-time national champion, Laurel? 16. So Laurel has racked them up, and a lot of that has been on the cyclocross bike. But you know what? There is a lot to be proud of in American cycling right now. And we put a huge emphasis on the women's disciplines. And this is why we're doing it, these quality women. Good luck out there, ladies.
All right, well, just waiting on our next teams. We're still missing just a couple riders. And once we have all them, we'll go ahead and bring everyone up. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our next squad to come up to the stage. This will be the Drops cycling team as we welcome Martina Ritter, Anna Christian, Elizabeth Holden, Abby Mae Parkinson, and Hannah Payton, the Drops cycling team. And from the Astana women's team out of Kazakhstan, Sofia Bertazolo, Olina Pavlokina, Carolina Gutierrez, Natalia Savtunova, Arlenis Sierra, Laura Vichu, and Sophia Began, the Astana women's cycling team. And Agnieszta Skaniak, sorry about that. And finally, we'll welcome up the Lars Wild Deals women's cycling team. And this will be the team of Flavia Oliveira, Sophie de Vuist, Sarah Rooks, Amelia Riva, Shayna van Glapke, and Bryony van Velzen. So we'll get a photo with those teams together as we welcome to the stage the Drop Cycling team, the USA National team, the Astana women's team, and the Lars Wild Deals women's cycling team.
Flavia Oliveira is a great story. As an exchange student, this Brazilian national found a family in Fresno County, in Fresno, where she came, learned English, became a huge part of her community, and then goes back to Brazil to qualify and make the Brazilian Olympic team that raced. I don't see Flavia right now. She's not here. She's awesome, though.
All right, let's bring some more teams up. We'll start with the first two, the Canyon SRAM Racing Team and the Wiggle High Five Pro Cycling Team. From Canyon SRAM, we welcome Alina Amialusik, Hannah Barnes, Tiffany Cromwell, Barbara Guarishi, Alexis Ryan, Trixie Warak, Mika Kroger, and Leah Thorvalson. And from the Wiggle High Five Pro Cycling Team, Georgia Bronzini, Audrey Rago, Amy Cure, and Amelia Phelan. So we'll put them up on the risers and bring up our final two teams racing here at the Amgen Breakaway from Heart Disease Women's Race. And what teams these are. We begin with Team Sunweb and the Bowles-Dolman Cycling Team. From Team Sunweb, and from the United States, Corinne Rivera, Lucinda Brand, Leah Kirschman, Juliette Labois, Lane Lippert, Julia Stick, Roseanne Slick, and Sabrina Stoltens. Team Sunweb. And the Bowles-Dolman's women's cycling team, Megan Guarnier, Anna Vanderbreggen, Carol Ann Canwell, Christine Mejeus, Amy Peters, Yip Vandenbos, and embedded with the team, the specialized reporter, Ruby Isaac. So we'll put them up on the risers for a photo with these four teams, and then we'll chat with some of those riders.
There's Georgia Bronzini, the world champion, and really one of the greatest sprinters of her generation there for the Wiggle High Five team, including our Santa Rosa winner there, Amelia Phelan out of Sweden, who's going to be Sweden. And how about this story? Trixie Worak, the German national champion, multi-time German national champion for the Canyon SRAM team, who won this event outright last year, then had lost a kidney and is back racing with us here this year. It's one of the greatest stories in sport today when you talk about Trixie Worak and what she has done. There's also a young Californian on that squad. You can see that Alexis Ryan is back in California. It's awesome to have her here. As she is another one of these talented riders. When Corinne Rivera was notching these 72 national championships, it was right there with her as a 12-year-old was Alexis Ryan. And then, ladies and gentlemen, it's a historic year in American cycling. The Ronde van Vlaanderen winner, the Tour of Flanders winner with us here out of Tustin, California. It's Corinne Rivera at this year's Amgen Tour of California. That is a huge, huge deal for all of us.
Well, let's meet some of these riders. You talked about Trixie Worak. We're going to ask her to stay behind. Corinne Rivera, Megan Guarnier, and Anna Vanderbreggen.
Well, we might as well jump right in. Obviously, everyone's going to be really excited to talk with Corinne. This is the first time, I think, that we've had Corinne back really in the United States at a bike race. Some people were talking about your Sunweb team and saying how great it was that they're supporting so many Americans on the Women's World Tour and the Men's World Tour. There's a lot of Americans riding for that team. I'm glad they chose you.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked also.
Yeah, so, we certainly had a good time back here in the United States, and I think this is one of the real upsides of social media is, have you ever seen anything like what happened to your Twitter account after you won Flanders?
It sounds like you're paying a bit more attention than I am, but yeah, I think it went up a little bit.
Yeah, well, and certainly, I mean, these are the kind of moments you train so hard. We used to always, Corinne, it's a well-documented story, showed up racing as a 9-year-old, basically, at Redlands in the Citizens Race, what we call the kids race, right?
Yeah, that's how I got started with racing. I did a one-lap kids race at Redlands Classics.
So, and then, you know, the story really became the most phenomenal junior cyclist, male or female, makes no difference. Just the most phenomenal junior cyclist. They used the term most decorated. And I guess that's not too far off, because you decorated your house with, I was joking with Brad, is it 72? 74?
No, you guys are way off the count. It's 71.
71.
I'm not as good as you think I am.
Right, we're rounding up now, right. But I mean, 71 times she was national champion. Corinne, as you get older, it gets harder, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. It gets a lot harder.
But one of the most special things of all about Corinne was there was a period in her life, I would say, you know, early 20s, where Corinne was a full-time student going to Marion, which is a great school in Indiana. And not saying you completely checked out on pro racing, but school was your thing for a couple years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I definitely focused on school. I had a few different internships going on, and yeah, I was really, really busy focusing on getting my degree.
Well, hey, Corinne, we'll join back in with you here, but how about the lady sitting next to you? Anna, thank you very much. It's an honor to have you racing in the United States. You've been here before, though. Talk about your experience already in the U.S.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I haven't been in this part in California, but I did a training camp in Florida one time, and that was pretty flat. And of course, I did also the World Championships in Richmond, and that was, yeah, it's great to be here and to see the different culture and this country, because it's so big and different than the small, yeah, country where I come from.
Would you come here, not as a cyclist, but when you see, did you get to ride around or see Lake Tahoe today?
Yeah, we did, of course, we did some small rides already, and yeah, this is really, you go into nature and you have a views. Well, in Holland I don't have views like that, so I really enjoy this, being here and yeah, and see new things, because I was looking for bears, I didn't see them yet, but that's a bad thing, but knowing they are there, that's already awesome.
And there are, Megan, it's probably not going to take too much longer until you find one, I would think. The Bowles Dolmans is one of these powerhouse squads. If you follow sports, think the San Francisco Giants, or you know, they're a big deal in pro cycling. And the young lady sitting next to Anna is from California, but has really been living in Europe for better part of the last 4 years. Represented the United States at the Rio Olympic Games, was the World Cup overall winner. And this is something that it's really hard to put in perspective for people who don't follow cycling. This is as high a level as it gets, and is also our reigning American national champion. Megan Garnier, welcome back to California.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So I'm surprised you didn't have Anna go get a burrito already.
I tried. Okay.
What do the women, the World Tour women, you know, like Trixie, who have been taking this very seriously, what is the thing that they maybe would like to do while they're in California over the next few days, maybe down in Sacramento, that would be outside of the bike world completely? You know, is there a store they want to go to?
Well, the grocery stores, but I think you've already experienced that. They're different than what you've had. But really, I think if you flew into San Francisco and you see the Golden Gate Bridge, that's really a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, so for you, after such a phenomenal season last year, and really I have to think that being able to look back and say, I'm an American Olympian, is a benchmark moment in one's life. Did you take a nice break afterwards?
No, not really. The season continued. Yeah, no, last season was a dream come true in many aspects of it, yeah.
That was quite a crazy Olympics in Rio. I know you were there as well. That finale is something I imagine you'll never forget, Anna.
No, of course I never forget. And if I forget, there are a lot of people who are remembering me of that. So, yeah, it was a special race. And I think a lot of people saw it and had also, yeah, it was exciting. And it had good things and bad things. Of course, a crash is never nice, but the race was excited. And that's what cycling is like. Every race is different and everything can happen. So that makes the sport as great as it is.
Yeah, we are really looking forward to the next 4 stages. So this is the European Champions jersey. I think it really is one of the coolest jerseys in the sport. The rainbow, the arc-en-ciel is obviously the goal for every woman here.
You gotta like the American.
That I was just going to, well, she has 71 of them. Corinne has 71 of them at home, right? So, but let's turn our attention now down to Trixie of the Canyon SRAM team. First off, I think you heard me telling the story that Trixie won this event outright, and it was a command performance that we witnessed here in California. And then it was certainly an interesting next couple of months for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, firstly, I won the tour in 2015 and not
Oh,
2016.
15, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you lost your kidney, which is a pretty significant thing to have happen in one's life. I mean, did you realize that you were going to come back to pro cycling no matter what?
Yeah, I had a really bad crash last year, and yeah, it took me also a lot of time, I think 3 months to come back. And yeah, in the first months I did not thought it was possible to come back, but yeah, I saw the progress, and yeah, I tried, so obviously it was okay.
So you must know the routes that we're racing on this year. Megan winning last year, you definitely, the stage 1, is it exactly the same as you remember, maybe without the wind?
Stage 1 is the same. I think we'll have some wind. I don't know if as much as last year. It's definitely a hard day.
For a rider like yourself, is it better to have it windy out there? I mean, for the stronger teams and the top riders, is that something that you want?
I'm learning to love it being on a Dutch team. They're great at riding in the wind, and they teach you. And if you're not so thrilled about it, you learn to be thrilled about it.
Yeah, how about you, Trixie? It certainly, is there one stage that you look at throughout the 4 days of racing? Obviously, maybe not so much, you know, the first 2 days have more climbing, the second 2 days a little different.
Yeah, I think the first 2 days are really hard with an uphill finish, but I'm also looking forward to the last stage in Sacramento. It's also a bit different because yeah, in Europe you never have crits so much, also not in a stage race, and I think it's something different.
So how about the altitude, Anna? What was your first impression when you were riding at 7,000, or let's say more than 2,000 meters?
That I was a bit short of breath. That's.
Does an elite athlete like yourself, can you even feel it climbing the stairs?
Not really. Maybe
No.
if you do it really fast, but I'm more a slow climber on stairs. But yeah, of course you feel it when you do an interval. Then it's different. Then you are short of breath. So after a couple of days, it should be good. But yeah, of course we don't have much time to adapt here. So I never raced in that. I never raced on altitude. So for me, it's a new experience.
What about you, Corinne? You've raced all over the country. I mean, over the last 14 years, I should say. You've pretty much seen it all. You must have done national championships up in Park City and that kind of thing. Altitude ever been an issue for you?
Yeah, actually, my first national championships ever was at Park City.
Well, there you go.
I think
Yep.
you were
I was.
emceeing also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done some races in Gila also, and the USA Pro Challenge a couple years back.
Is it something the European women need to worry about? The riders coming from Europe.
Yeah, it's definitely another added challenge to the racing here in the States.
One of your great victories. Well, you know, I mean, obviously now, once you win Flanders, everything changes on your pecking order of wins. But I always remember that, I'm going to say it was probably 2010, Sacramento, when they hosted a standalone day of racing. You were probably, you know, in that under 20-year-old phase of your career at that point.
I think I was still 18. I was still a junior.
Right,
Yeah.
and that was a nice win there that day in front of, I mean, one of the bigger crowds I bet you'd ever seen.
Yeah, it was super fun. Still the same stage 4 as we did back in 2010. So, yeah, I've had a little bit of experience and excited to go back.
Yeah, is there one stage that you're looking at, or do you race for the overall now? Because I guess that's something that for people who aren't following cycling day to day, they might not realize that maybe there's a rider like Kirsten Wild who would target a stage and not worry about the mountains. Are you worried about every day?
Yeah, we'll take each day, day by day, and see what we can do.
All right, good. We'll pass it back down now. Anna, how about you? Did you come here to maybe help Megan in the overall? Did you come here for your own ambitions? What's your plan?
I always have own ambitions, but in this case, it's to help Megan. And we have to see how it goes. Of course, if you have 2 cards to play or even more, then you can see it in the race how it goes.
Megan, let's talk about your ambitions coming back to California. I mean, I think it's fair to say that you don't race to do anything but win.
This year's a little bit different. I'm just coming off a concussion, and I'm getting into my fitness and getting into my progression right now. So, yeah, I have expectations for myself, but I'm just going to go out there and do my best.
Good, and I have to think that when we talk about Bulls Dolmans, and you hear me saying, oh, this is a superstar squad, it's all monsters and that kind of thing, but it is human beings too, isn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, bike racing is challenging, and you face crashes and things happen. So, but at the same time, we have an incredible squad here. So, Anna's a great card to play, but you got to look at the rest of our girls as well.
And I have to think, for a young woman in professional cycling right now, having this kind of stage is an opportunity that you just can't pass up. As far as, you only get so many weeks like the Amgen Tour of California to help grow cycling and especially get it in front of young women.
Yeah, I mean, having the media here covering our race is a huge step for us in getting our racing to the public, because every time somebody sees one of our races, they think it's really cool, and then they get to know our personalities, and then they can cheer for us, and it's growing in the U.S., and having a World Tour event like this in California is incredible.
Trixie, is it an event that you feel particularly honored to come back to, or is it a good event for you spiritually to be back at, having won here, everything you've done, coming back now?
Yeah, for sure. After 2015, I was really happy to come back, and yeah, we see what we can do with the team here.
Well, good. And good luck to all of you and your teams. And it's really an honor to have you with us here at the Amgen Tour.
Thank you.
All right, Brad, you want to talk about danger women and heavy hitters. That is quite a group there.
Yeah, I mean, what a group. And with 2 Americans in the group, it really goes to highlight the growth that we've seen in women's cycling. We're really lucky here in the United States to have some great supporters of the sport, some folks working very hard to help grow the sport every day and offer more opportunities for riders like Corinne, riders like Megan, so that they can go out and show the world what the talent that America can produce. One of those people is working at the highest level of the sport at USA Cycling. He is the president and CEO of USA Cycling. Please welcome Derek Bouchard Hall.
Thanks, Brad. I just want to talk to you briefly about 3 things. First, I'd like to highlight just how important this event is to women's cycling. I'd like to tell you about there's an incredible, powerful, progressive force that's behind this event that is really helping women's cycling, that we all owe a debt of gratitude to. And I'd like to introduce one of the greatest athletes of all time. So first, why is this event so important to women's cycling? Well, I think you've seen it, you've heard some stories about what this means to the athletes. But I think everybody in this room understands just how talented and skilled and dedicated world-class women cyclists are. But the reality is that a lot of the world in America doesn't fully appreciate that and don't have the opportunity to see it. And the only way they will is with big events like this. They do get to see it at the Olympics, but that's only once every 4 years. So to have an event like this, of this professional, so professionally run, have these incredible dramatic courses, have them finish in cities that are among the most populous in the world, to have television time, this is incredible. The fact that my 2 daughters get to watch women cycling on TV should not be underestimated about how powerful it is for inspiring them and the next generation of women cyclists. So this is really, really important, particularly for American cycling. USA Cycling is putting a lot of effort behind women's cycling. We're actually spending more money on the women's elite side than we are on the men's elite side, and we have a goal of becoming the #1 women's cycling country in the world over the next quad. I'll applaud that. But having something like this where our best athletes can come compete in front of their home crowds, it's so energizing to the entire network, the entire community of American cycling, be it the soigneurs, the mechanics, the aging administrators like myself. It's so exciting to have an event like this. So it's really, really great for American cycling. Also, you saw the young athletes that we have riding for the U.S. national team. That's only possible because it's at a World Tour event here on American soil, so it's really great. Now, the second thing I want to say is there is a powerful progressive force behind this support of women's cycling. And I think you all understand it is Amgen and AEG. The efforts that they're putting behind this and the resources that they're putting behind this are not to be underestimated. It's huge what they're putting behind this event, and I think they are owed a real strong and powerful round of applause for that support. And then also, SRAM is another big sponsor you saw stepped up, and they are doing a multi-year commitment, and they also should be applauded for their support of women's cycling. So finally, I'd like to introduce one of the greatest athletes of all time. And that, of course, is Kristen Armstrong here. You know, she is somebody who's won so many titles, including multiple stages here at the Tour of California. But let me just sort of put in perspective why I think she's so phenomenal. You know, there's a hierarchy of world-class athletes, and I'm well aware of it. You know, I'm a former athlete myself, and I very much understand this sort of hierarchy and pyramid of greatness. And it starts with sort of national class riders who rise to the top of your country and can vie for a national championship. And then you have those that can compete at the international level, the world-class level, all the women athletes that you saw here today. And then you have those that make it to the Olympics and they're Olympians. And then you have those Olympians that can win medals. And then you have those Olympic medalists that get gold medals that make the top step. And then you have Olympic gold medalists that can do it not once, but multiple times. And then there's a very, very top step, which is a multi-time Olympic gold medalist in an individual event over consecutive Olympics. And that's where Kristen is. There's no other top step. That is the very, very top. And she has done just that. 3 consecutive Olympics in an individual event, she won the gold medal. I was there in Rio and watched it firsthand. It was absolutely stunning. And now that she's moved into another phase of her career, she's now helping develop the next generation of athletes. She's coaching some of America's best athletes, including a new star on the stage, Chloe Dygert. She's also does an enormous amount of work to promote the sport broadly, and it's been really fantastic to see. She's also promised me she's going to come back to set the hour record. Well, I'm trying to get her to promise that, but I think she could do it. Anyway, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Kristen Armstrong.
Well, first of all, I just want to clear everyone's minds and answer the question you guys are probably wondering, which is, am I coming back to 2020? Because, I mean, come on, this is my trend, right? I retired 2 times because I'm competitive with Brett Favre, and the answer is no. I will not be coming back for 2020, but I hope that I'm actually in Tokyo with the next athlete. In fact, I'm completely at peace with this. I wasn't sure in my life if I'd ever come to the point where I didn't want to compete any longer. And for me to play the role at the Tour of California as an ambassador of the sport, I'm thrilled to do that. And I'm also thrilled to hopefully help support the next generation. And there would be nothing more satisfying for me than to earn my 4th medal through coaching. So I'm really excited, and I just want to share with you, you know, when I think back about my career and opportunities like the Amgen Tour of California is providing women in America, having a women's world tour here in America is an amazing step. You know, this is the 2nd year, it's the only women's world tour in America, and I can't tell you enough how this has changed my life. It changed my life about 13 years ago. Back then it wasn't called the Women's World Tour, but we happened to have the world's largest, most prestigious race happened to be through my hometown called Boise, Idaho. And it came through, and it started off as the Orvida Women's Challenge, and then it went to the HP Women's Challenge, and sure enough, I was that team. I call myself the local token team, where because we are from Boise, Idaho, why wouldn't we invite the local town team to participate with the world's best? And so I was working full-time, and at that time, I was what I would consider just a local cyclist, trying to, I don't know, have goals like the rest of us. And I wanted to be healthy and active. And this tour came through, and I said, okay, well, I'll do this. And it was 9 days long. And I remember going out after work with a headlamp on, training every night, learning the mile markers on every climb to make sure that when I got dropped, I knew how many more miles I had to get to the summit, kind of like it's going to happen in stage 2 here. And by the end of the week, I had 3 professional contract offers. And it changed my life. And I was nervous because I didn't get paid a lot. And so I kept working part-time. And what part-time work did for me was it created balance in my life. So I continued throughout my entire career working part-time. And balance is a secret weapon. And so I just want to thank all the sponsors here, all the supporters here for having the Amgen Tour California, because you never know. I believe that this week it's going to change someone's life. We don't know who that person is yet, but it will change someone's life. It may be a racer. It may be through community. Today I got to go out to 2 schools, and I got to speak to elementary kids, and I got to speak to middle school kids. And it was my best part of my day. And then not only that, but we're also, how often, with the media platform we have here, right alongside the men who have already been recognized for the sport. But to bring women in the fold and to actually have people resonate with our sport and be part of our sport, it's only going to bring in new sponsors. It's going to bring awareness. And I can't tell you how excited I am after Rio, after the performance that the USA women had with Mara Abbott just barely getting caught right before the finish line. And that really brought a lot of attention to people who might not otherwise watch our sport. And so just the differences that we're making in our communities, we're making with bringing media and showing the level that we can race and the sport that we all love and we hold near and dear to our heart, changing kids' lives, maybe changing the next cyclist's life, maybe the next 3-time gold medalist. But also what I'm really passionate about, and I work really strongly towards this effort in the state of Idaho, is just around our health. And to energize and to motivate others, maybe some of you tonight, to get out and ride your bike, go for a hike, and just treat our bodies well, it's really healthy. And so I'm just really happy to be here and be part of it and to spread just, I don't know, the good nature of our sport and what it does in just all different ways. Thank you.
Kristen, while we got you, I'm going to ask you to answer a few more questions. We'll sit down, and Dave, if you're still around, we can go ahead and bring you back too. Kristen has been such an inspirational story, not just for all women cyclists, but especially the American women cyclists. You've been working with sort of our next crop of professionals. Talk about your new role in the sport, what you're doing now that you're not racing. How are you contributing to the sport now?
You know, I don't have an official role. I just have this role called the passionate role. And that is that I'm contributing back to athletes that I feel are wanting, I would say, my guidance. You know, I do have a lot of experience that I would like to share with the next generation. And there have been a handful of people who reached out to me, and because of that, I'm now coaching them, and I'm helping them get to the next level and really showing and helping manage kind of how do they get to being identified as talent to that step as how do I actually accomplish that vision and that dream that I go after.
Emma White, who is just with us here, and Chloe Dygert are 2 amazingly talented women, and they're really different, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Like when you look at the people that they are, they're both champions, but coming from really different places, it's got to be fun to work with kids that aren't all cookie cutter.
Yeah, I coach both Emma White and Chloe Dygert, and I would say that they're extremely 2 different athletes. You know, when I work with Emma, I am a huge advocate around continuing your education and that you can actually do both sport and go on to college. And so with Emma going to college full time, I've had to be very unique and very patient with the type of coaching that otherwise I would do with somebody that might not be in full-time school. So there's a lot of different stresses that are on Emma White, but she is the most laid back. She comes from a great family, and everything is a joy for her. She's really enjoying and having fun riding her bike, and when I ask her how a workout went, she's just like, it was amazing. And I was like, that's great.
You never once said that in your career, I'd imagine. Not with that gusto, right?
No, and you know what Emma does for me, so though I may be contributing to these athletes, but what they don't realize is that they're actually contributing back to me.
Sure.
Because when they have an attitude coming back so positive, I take that in my life and I say, wow, actually, it is a wonderful day. It is an amazing day.
Kristen, you and I were talking earlier about what you learned from each Olympics that you participated in, and I'm sure that lesson gets passed on to your athletes. Talk a little bit more about that, how each Olympics was different from the last.
You know, everyone always asks me the famous question is, so what was your favorite Olympic Games? And I'm thinking, well, first of all, how lucky am I to actually even talk about which one was my favorite? Because I still have to pinch myself. So what I like to do is I have had 4 journeys, and each of those journeys have brought out a life lesson. So I don't have a favorite. I have a hardest, and I have a most impactful, and I'll share those with you in a second. But the life lessons I can share very quickly is, in Athens, I was a dark horse. I came out, I won Olympic trials, and I showed up, and the best piece of advice I received was from a friend who participated in the Olympic Games and said, hey, Kristen, don't forget to compete. And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, compete? I'm a competitor. I'm not going to forget to compete. He's like, listen, do not forget to compete. So I go there, I go to the opening ceremonies, like 36 hours later, I compete. I'm out in Athens with my family, and I was like, back in Boise on my couch watching those closing ceremonies, and I thought, that was my goal, like to become an Olympian, and here I am on my couch watching these superhuman people, like, what happened? What just happened in my life? And so I had a goal, I wanted to become an Olympian, but I didn't take that goal past my goal, which was, I didn't have a vision of what I wanted to be. So I was like, okay, 4 more years of vision. I am not gonna leave Beijing without getting on that podium. There's no way. And so the other thing I took away from Athens is like, I can't do this alone, I need a team. I thought I could just do it on my own, me and my coach, yeah, let's just do this. And so I really needed support. I started going to the wind tunnel, I flew to Beijing, I pre-rode the course, I worked and downloaded with my Garmin to mock a course in Boise, Idaho. I needed a bigger team. I needed to work with a dietitian, and so that team grew. And so I accomplished my goal in Beijing, and I retired. I was done. I was completely finished until, well, 22 months before London. I got a text message when I was 9 months pregnant and was like, hey, what do you think? We got 22 months. I was like, have you looked at me lately? I'm like, there's no way this is going to London. And right after I had Lucas, I decided to come back to the sport. And it was hard. There was a lot of ups and downs.
Let's talk about that period.
Yeah.
I mean, that was there was another big race in Boise that happened where you were right in the qualification process and you broke a collarbone in the prologue time trial in your hometown.
Yeah.
How tough was it to come back from that, especially when you were not a mortal lock to make the team? You were even a fringe choice at that point. I mean, as Kristen said, she had come back 20 months before, started training again 20 months before the games. And then a huge setback, and you still made it.
Yeah, you know, that story, when I first came back, it was hard to get back on my feet at that level the first year after having a child. And so I had to keep determined and keep focused. And so when I went into 2012, what had happened is none of the Americans had automatically qualified. So I looked at it as something positive, which meant, hey, January 1, 2012, we're on the same level. There's no automatic qualifications. And so now it's all coaches' selection. So at that point, what we have to do is I have to win every head-to-head, period. And so I went and I actually went out and I found like, for example, my first race in New Zealand was against Judith Arndt, who was the current world champion. And I think, okay, step number 1, I'm going to go beat Judith because it's head-to-head against a world champion. Step 2, so then I needed to basically go against as many Americans as I could, showing that I can actually win time trials again. So my last head-to-head was 3 weeks before selection criteria, and it was the Extra G Tour in my hometown. And at the halfway point, I was already up. And I did a U-turn, and I actually hit, when you live in a, obviously you all know, when you live in a winter town, at the stop signs, the roads get these heaves. And so when I went to take a turn, my wheel skipped over and I fell and broke my collarbone. I had surgery the next morning. The headlines of the paper were, Armstrong's out, there's no chance, she's not gonna make it, there's no way she can recover. And so thank goodness for the power of social media, I was actually able to, my whole job then at that point was to change the media's mind as well as selection committee, because in my opinion, all it took was one person on the selection committee at age 15 to break their collarbone and not come back, to have this idea that, okay, I didn't come back, and when I was 15, I broke my collarbone on the skateboard, she can't come back. So I was taking pictures of myself on my bike and said, it's so great to be back in training. And I was only on my bike for like 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, to be honest, so this is a prologue stage one. The next morning, Kristen has already completed the surgery, has had her wonderful husband, Joe, has driven her out to the bike race, and she wants to co-commentate. This is 18 hours after the broken collarbone.
Yeah, they had gave me some stuff that was really good.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
it showed in the commentary.
That was a fun day in Boise, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But you know what you were doing, I thought at the time? I was like, this woman is so fierce, and she is so driven that she's not going to back off for one heartbeat. She's already, like, whether it's spin or not, Kristen is here saying, no, don't count me out, because I've already had the surgery. When I'm done announcing, I'll be training later this afternoon.
Yeah, that was
on
my
Zwift.
That was
right.
Yeah, on Zwift. That was my intention, was to change the perspective of what everyone thought that can take you down, and you never can say never. And so, because of my results, my early results, I was chosen for the Olympic team, and my vision of having my 2-year-old son on the podium came true, and everything was great. And I retired again. Did you know that? I retired again.
We heard.
And so after my retirement from London, I was pretty excited. I felt like I had accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And it was just such a tough 2 years with my family that I basically retired. And I, in 2013, I had 3 hip surgeries. And I had 2 on my right hip and 1 on my left hip. And I continue to have continuous procedures through 2014. In fact, my last hip procedure was in December 23rd in 2014, and I could barely walk, and I was on crutches 3 different times for 8 weeks, and I didn't ride my bike for about 8 or 9 months. And so I was very frustrated, and finally I started feeling okay, and I went on vacation with my family in February to Palm Desert, and I got on my bike, and at that point, I said to my husband, hey, so I really miss having a goal. And he looked at me like, oh, don't even say what I think you're going to say. And I was like, you know, I'm working full time at a hospital, and marathon runners do this. I mean, they pick one event, they do like 3 a year, and they work full time, and you just specifically train. So I was thinking, what do you think if I just pick a time trial? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, like I miss having a goal. He's like, what are you thinking? I'm like, nationals. And he's like, no, seriously. And so what I didn't remind him of is if you win nationals, you're an automatic for worlds. And so he's like, okay, let's just go to nationals. And I said, you know, yeah, is this a goal? And so I go up and I win. And I'm just like, he's like, oh no, we are not doing this again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the good news is Richmond is the World Championships, and it's in America. It's going to be so easy. Like, I'm going to continue to work full time, and then I'll just do the same thing as I have always done, work full time, focus training just on the time trial, and I'll go to Richmond. I didn't remind him that if you're top 3 at Richmond, like you're an automatic for Rio. And I go to Richmond, and he's like, okay, here's the deal. Remember, you're not top 3, we're done. And when I say we're done, we're done. And I was like, okay. I get 5th. I'm like, but Joe, I'm a top American. I'm like, I'm the top American. Like, how much better can it get? And by the way, here we are in London. Nobody's an automatic. So we're all on the same playing field again. And so what that taught me was working full time, being a mom, and doing things halfway isn't going to get me on the top step. And so it was an eye-opening experience, and 5th place is really what brought me the gold medal in Rio, because I had to reset, and if I really wanted to be the best, I had to be the best.
Wow, what an incredible story. And it's not even over yet. We still have great things to come from Kristen Armstrong. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for your 3-time Olympian, Kristen Armstrong.
Thank you.
All right, well, that will do it for us tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming out, our great LOC here in Tahoe, and everyone that helped make the Amgen Breakaway from Heart Disease Women's Race Empowered with SRAM possible. We do still have our silent auction open for another few minutes here, so if you've got a bid in or you want to check out some of the items, there are some really, really cool Amgen Tour of California memorabilia, jerseys, all kinds of great stuff over there. So for Dave Toll, my name is Brad Soner. Thanks for having us tonight. We'll see you at the start line tomorrow morning for the Amgen Breakaway from Heart Disease Women's Race Empowered with SRAM.